At first, we laughed. A harmless trick, we thought, this so-called power of the Hebrew God. Surely, Pharaoh would deal with their Moses, and things would return to normal. Egypt had always been mighty. Our gods, countless and powerful, had guided us through centuries of triumph. What could the god of slaves do against such divinity? The Nile was our lifeblood, the source of Egypt's bounty. When it turned to blood, we were stunned. The river, once vibrant with life, became a vessel of death. Fish floated to the surface in masses, their decay stinking in the unrelenting heat. The priests told us this was temporary. Some celestial anomaly perhaps. Offerings were made to Happy, the god of the Nile. And assurances whispered, yet Happy did not answer. Then came the frogs. They swarmed through our homes, our streets, our kitchens. They were everywhere underfoot, in our beds, in the very bowls from which we tried to eat. It was absurd at first, almost laughable, but as they multiplied, panic spread. We prayed to Hecate, goddess of fertility, with her sacred association with frogs. But the creatures did not leave. Instead, they died en masse, leaving us to wade through piles of their decaying bodies. Gnats were next. Small, biting insects that descended upon us in clouds, sparing no one. Then came the flies, more oppressive and insidious, crawling over our skin and into every crevice of our homes. The air buzzed with their endless hum, a sound I can still hear in my nightmares. Geb, god of the earth, and Khepri, the sacred scarab, were silent despite our pleas. The livestock fell after that, our cattle, our goats, the backbone of our economy and sustenance. The fields seemed cursed. They told us the Hebrews' God had no dominion over such things. Yet there were no answers from Hathor, the cow goddess, or Apis, the sacred bull. Even the priests grew quiet. Our gods, the gods who had filled our temples with their grandeur, seemed absent. When bulls erupted across our skin, the silence of the priests grew eerie. Pharaoh remained defiant, his pride unbroken. But the common people, those of us who suffered, began to whisper, how could our gods stand idly by? Why did they not intercede on our behalf? Every temple offering went unacknowledged, every prayer unanswered. And then, the hail fell. It wasn't ordinary hail but a force of destruction unlike anything we'd seen. Fire fell with ice, tearing through crops and trees. Our land, which had always been lush and bountiful, was reduced to ashes. Locusts followed, consuming what little remained. The skies darkened as though Ra himself had abandoned us. For 3 days, darkness blanketed Egypt. So thick it was as if the light of our lives had been extinguished. Each plague chipped away at my faith. At first, I clung to denial, then anger, and finally fear. Were our gods weak, or worse, were they false? We had trusted them to protect us, to provide for us, and now we faced ruin. I remember kneeling in the temple of Ra, begging for the sun to return, but no answer came. The final blow, how it haunts me still. The death of the firstborn. That night, a wail rose across Egypt, unlike any sound I had ever heard. Grief tore through families as lives were snuffed out in an instant. My own cousin, a bright young boy, was among the dead. Pharaoh's gods couldn't save even his son. That night, I knew what the rest of us dared not say aloud. The Hebrew God was real, and he was greater than any power we had ever known. When the Hebrews left, we watched in silence. Some cheered for their departure, hopeful that their God's wrath would leave with them. Others, like me, were left hollow, grappling with the realization that everything we believed in had been called into question. The gods of Egypt had failed us. They had stood by as our world crumbled. And in the stillness that followed the plagues, a new thought took root within me, a terrifying thought. Perhaps the God of Moses wasn't just a God of slaves. Perhaps he was the only God. Life after the plagues was never the same. We rebuilt, yes, but the scars ran deep. The Nile eventually flowed red no longer. The flies and frogs disappeared, and the sun returned. Yet for many of us, Egypt's gods remained silent, and in that silence, doubt whispered louder than ever before.